I have been a fan of the Pokemon games since I was a child and played almost every generation. And with the next Pokemon Presents coming up on July 22nd, I am honestly hoping for some peak reviews. Yeah, we'll probably get updates on Pokemon Legends CA, and let's be real, a chunk of time on mobile games no one really asked for, but there's a small, slightly delusional part of me hoping for something bigger. Maybe it's time for Generation 10 already, a black and white remake, or maybe even something really unexpected. And now that the Pokemon Presents is almost here, I wanted to dive into some Pokemon games we'll probably never get, but I'd really wish we did. So I really want to share some of my most wanted Pokemon games, ranked from this is guaranteed to happen to this is a literal 0% chance to happen. But let me dream. If they are going to show something brand new during this Pokemon Presents, I think the most likely surprise is a tiny little teaser for Generation 10. Not a full trailer, maybe not even a title, but maybe a tiny bit of gameplay. Just enough for me to rewatch it like 100 times, trying to see everything I can. Although I think realistically they probably saved that for Pokemon Day in February, because that's where they usually drop the really big reveals. Like the first reveal trailer for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I am just so excited and also so curious where they are going to take the mainline Pokemon games next. I mean, Scarlet and Violet was a huge step in a new direction. We got a full open world with 3 different stories that incorporate in one big story. And also, of course, super buggy and quite ugly graphics. My biggest wish for Generation 10 is that they are just taking their time, honestly. Because Generation 10 is a literal milestone for the series. I really want to see a big new region with a lot of personality. I mean, I kind of like Paldea, but there's not a single city that really stands out or is really iconic. And Paldea felt a little inconsistent. And I really hope we can get some new really iconic places, like we did with some cities in Sinnoh or the Unova region. I really just hope the region really celebrates the Pokemon mainline series, because it will be the 10th generation, with a really big new region to explore and hopefully new mechanics. So I'm not expecting a full review at this Pokemon Presents, but the delusional part of me still thinks there's a slight chance. But of course, it is going to happen eventually, it's honestly a given, and I really look forward to it. So Generation 10 would be the only game in this video that is for sure 100% going to happen. My very first Pokemon game was Pokemon White on the Nintendo DS, and I remember playing it non-stop when I was younger. I instantly fell in love with the Unova region, the music, the cities, the story, everything honestly. So it probably comes as no surprise that the next remakes I'm really hoping for are the ones from Generation 5. And honestly, it feels pretty likely, but the reason I'm including it in this video is because I'm a little nervous. After how Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl turned out, which, let's be real, were pretty underwhelming, I think a lot of the Pokemon fans are scared that Gen 5 might get the same treatment. And I get it. I am one of those people. PDSP felt too safe and honestly didn't do enough to evolve the originals. What I really hope is that Game Freak or whoever handles the remakes takes the opportunity to expand on Unova with fresh ideas, but still respects what made these games so iconic. Generation 5's story is easily one of the best in the series. It had actual themes, memorable characters like Anne, and cities that stood out more than most other games. I mean, come on. Everyone and their grandma was vibing to the Driftfell City theme without even knowing it was from Pokemon. My one big wish is that they also include some content from Black and White 2. I just don't really see them doing a full Black and White 2 remake as well. So if they could mix in features like Pokestar Studios and, more importantly, the World Tournament, that will be amazing. These remakes have so much potential, and we know Game Freak can pull off a great one. Just look at Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. That remake actually added new content and made things feel fresh. I just really do not want another PDSP situation where we end up with something that feels mid. All in all, I really hope Pokemon Black and White remakes will happen eventually, if they are going to do it right. But I can't say that it's going to be 100% a thing. I mean, we got a Legends game for Generation 4, and now Pokemon Legends CA being Generation 6, they literally skipped Generation 5 for now. And I really like the Kalos region, and I really love Lumio City, but maybe they are going to do it with the remakes as well. I don't necessarily think that. I think Pokemon Black and White remakes are the next remakes and have an 80% chance of happening in the coming years. one thing about the Nintendo Switch era in general that kind of pisses me off was the whole NSO Classics libraries. We got now up to the GameCube after more than 8 years with the Nintendo Switch. But what pisses me off even more is the lack of the main Pokémon titles on these libraries. And I think it can be possible. I mean, Nintendo has already done it before. On the 3DS Virtual Console we had Pokémon Red, Blue, Yellow, Gold, Silver and Crystal. These versions even had wireless trading, battling and Pokébank compatibility. So these games really do have a chance of coming to the Nintendo Switch Online services. Also we got some various Pokémon spin-off games on the NSO. So maybe one day we even get the mainline games. And I mean, the Game Boy and Game Boy Advance are already part of Nintendo Switch Online. So I think those games have the most chance of coming back. But the realistic part of me kind of knows that even the older games probably won't ever be a part of Nintendo Switch Online. They really like selling remakes instead. So instead of giving away the original games as part of NSO, they often focus on remakes, like Brilliant Diamond and kind of Let's Go Pikachu. I think what's most likely is that they will eventually sell a Pokémon collection with Generation 1, 2 and 3, or maybe even separate, and sell those for $70 each. I think only Generation 1 and Generation 2 have a chance to be added to NSO. Maybe Shadow Drop during a future Pokémon Presents, but maybe I can see Generation 3 also happen, but it's way less likely in my opinion, because of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, which are not that old, as for example Heart Gold and Soul Silver. And then Generation 4 till Generation 7, yeah buddy, it's not gonna happen. But I think Generation 1 and Generation 2 on NSO have a 50-50% chance of happening. I really hope so! Okay, so I'll be honest, I never really got super deep into the Pokémon Mystery Dungeon games. I played Explorers of Sky for just a couple of hours when I was younger, and I remember thinking it was pretty cool, but I didn't really stick with it. I really want to try the series again because I know I'm missing out. Maybe I just wasn't ready for other reading back then, but even with my limited experience, I still think the concept behind Mystery Dungeon is so underrated, like being an actual Pokémon. And recently I started thinking, what if they took that idea from Pokémon Scarlet and Violet, but made it a Pokémon Mystery Dungeon game? A Pokémon Mystery Dungeon game that wasn't stuck to the classic dungeon formula, but an entire open world. You can choose your Pokémon at the beginning of the game, or maybe it's randomly assigned like the classic games. And you get to explore different regions, form rescue teams, take on missions, and actually live in the Pokémon world. I think this will be so cool, but I don't really think it is possible. I mean, we got a Pokémon Mystery Dungeon game on the Nintendo Switch already, so the series is at least alive, but I think an open world Pokémon Mystery Dungeon game is just impossible. I mean, I am not really attached to the series, but I think if you're going to remove the classic dungeon formula, I think some of the soul in this series is going to be gone. I really want to one day see this game, but I don't really know if they should remove the classic dungeon formula. But for now, I think the Pokémon Mystery Dungeon games in general have a 30% chance of happening. Okay, and now we go to the wild stuff. One game besides Pokemon, Mario, and Splatoon, where I was a really big fan of when I was younger, was the Animal Crossing series. And alright, hear me out, one Pokemon game that I really wanted as a kid was a Pokemon game like Animal Crossing. No battling and no gyms, just pure cozy vibes. You get to create your town full of Pokemon. You get to live in a cozy little village, maybe you're a human, maybe you're a Pokemon, doesn't matter. Every day you need to help your Pokemon neighbors with little tasks. You get to decorate your own village and catch bugs and catch Magikarps while fishing. Oh, now that I'm saying this, I don't know what Magikarp would think about that. I've wanted a game like this for my entire childhood. Just a whole other direction the series has gone so far. They can even do a KK Slider style concert, but then not from KK, but Meloetta, which was one of my favorite mythicals when I was younger. I mean, I still would have liked if this game existed, but for now, I think the chance that a Pokemon game like this will exist is really small. I mean, the closest we got to this game is, I think, a mix between Pokemon Mystery Dungeon and maybe Pokemon Cafe Remakes, I guess. So I don't say it's impossible, but I for sure don't see it happen actually. Alright, I'm gonna be real here. This one has literally about a 1% chance of ever happening. And if it's going to happen, I will shit my pants. I still think about this game more than I probably should. But oh my god, how I would love a Pokepark 3. I grew up playing Pokepark 2 Wonders Beyond. And a little later Pokepark Wii Pikachu's Adventure. And they were just pure comfort games to me. You got to be a Pokemon, run around in this bright open world, make friends, do little battles, play minigames with other Pokemon. And if you haven't played these games, you might be a little surprised. But these games were sometimes so freaking emotional. Like, we all know that Pikachu and Piplup scene scene in Pokepark 2. I cried my eyes out. Like, these games were actually so simple in concept, but it had so much heart and personality. And even though it was aimed at a younger audience, I still think about this game from time to time. There was just something really magical about these games. The music and even the way each Pokemon just lived its own life. And yeah, looking back, the controls were a bit clunky and sometimes I wanted to smash my Wii remote into the TV because of the camera, but I just loved running around as Pikachu, chilling with Mew and unlocking zones full of different Pokemon to interact with. That's why I wish they bring it back with a modern touch. Pokepark 3 for the Nintendo Switch 2, with better movement, online features, and of course, now that the last Pokepark game was in the time of Generation 5, they got loads of Pokemon who they can add for a Pokepark 3. But sadly, we probably never going to get it. But who knows, if they ever announce Pokepark 3 out of nowhere, I would absolutely lose my mind. But for now, it has literally only 1% chance of happening. So yeah, those are the Pokemon games that I absolutely love to see. But realistically, at least half of these will probably stay in my imagination. Still, it was kind of fun to think about Pokemon games I really want to see. And who knows, maybe one day there will be a Pokemon Presents and a Shadow Drop Pokepark 3. The copium is so real, oh my god. But until then, I will be crossing my fingers and hope that Game Freak decides to make one of these games. Let me know in the comments which impossible Pokemon game you wish existed. And if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe. And hopefully till the next video. Goodbye!